Hi YouTube, welcome back. I need to take some measurements because I want to marry up these stainless steel headers or downpipes from Paramount Performance to my AJ6 Engineering twin extractor pipes that will run along here. In the process of taking those measurements, I'm going to be fitting all the previous systems of exhaust right back to OEM on this engine and taking some measurements. So I thought while I was doing that, I'd make a little video about the different kind of exhaust systems you can fit to a Jaguar 6-litre V12. Okay, so to start off with, I've fitted the OEM exhaust onto the engine. So this is the later 6-litre V12 standard exhaust. Consists of two cast iron manifolds. I think that's the same as the 5.3. I have actually forgotten to bring down from storage the heat shield that sits on here. It's just two bolts. By the way, those bolts do go through into the manifold. So if you forget to put your heat shield on, when you start your car, sounds like a tractor. I know that because I did that once. That then joins onto this big downpipe section that houses your catalytic converters. I think there's two of them per side. At some point, maybe someone's been in here and removed them. I don't know anything about that. There's a sensor hole here on both sides, just one sensor per side, which I've always thought was a bit strange because usually you have a sensor either end and it reads the difference, but on this system they've just got a sensor. After that, the downpipe continues to about halfway along the transmission, where it connects onto a long stretch that goes to your mid silencers. One thing that it does have over some of the other systems that I've seen is there is a little brace that sits there and hooks on to, or doesn't hook on actually, it screws on to the underside of the car. We'll just go under the car and I'll show you where that screws on. So there's the rear suspension unit, and I can't remember exactly where it screws on. Somewhere in all that black sticky nonsense of underseal is a couple of thread holes for that mount, and then those two mid silencers sit one each side under these heat shields that you can see either side, and then they connect onto the over axle pipes, which are called that because, as you can see, they go up and over the axle out to your rear silencers. So there's one of those each side, and as you can see, the after the mid silencers, the pipe is angled to slot inside. It's all slip fit. That's the other good thing about that. There's no silly crush, washers, gaskets, all that kind of stuff. This whole setup is just slip on. And then there's the back of the... Why have I got a cable tie on there? I don't know what I'm holding up there. Anyway, I'm holding up the overaxle pipe because it's not attached to anything. So yeah, that overaxle pipe comes down and then connects onto a rear silencer, which obviously goes out the back of the car. Now, when I bought this car, my overaxle pipes and rear silencers were completely shot, so I don't even have those anymore in storage. By the way, just a heads up, the edges of these heat shields that they've crimped on, they're like razors. If you slide your hand over them, well, I did it the other day and gouged a big hole out of my finger there. Just a heads up if you're messing about taking your exhaust on and off. Either wear gloves or just don't go anywhere near these two per side heat shields. Right, I'm going to video fitting the driver's side downpipe, just because there's a few things that are just worth noting on these. So these come with a standard setup of a spacer on the rear pipe, and then your compression rings Obviously you should use new compression rings and squish them to the correct depth. These have already been used, but for the sake of what I'm doing now, that'll be fine. There is also a heat shield here that goes on, whoops, like this. It sits on the front stud there and the rear stud of the rear pipe, and that's to protect the steering rack. Not the steering rack, the steering rack pipes, I think. We'll discuss that in a sec. I don't remember how difficult it is to do this in the car, but I've just done a practice run, and it's certainly easier with the engine out anyway to pop the downpipes on, get them on, and then we'll fit that heat shield later by just undoing a couple of the studs, if that makes sense. Oh, of course I had to pick the most dirty thread to start off with. I just want to get one in. It's quite heavy, this downpipe. I should have cleaned these threads off really, but I can't really be bothered because I'm not intending to use these manifolds anymore. That's them all on. Again, I can't remember, it's been so long since I've done this on the car, but a long extension with a long socket is reaching up nicely here. Obviously, when it's fitted to the car, you've got all sorts of, well, the chassis, for one, in your way. Oh, just checking that. That should be pretty much in line with the transmission, which it is. So I'll just nip the ones up that I'm going to leave on. Will do. And now what I'll do is undo these two. Still there. That one and that one off. Makes quite a handy workbench, this engine stand that I've created for myself. Right, so this sits on that front stud and that rear stud there, like that. And to just thread these back on. This one's a bit tricky because I've got to get my fingers in quite a tight gap. Even more fun trying to do it on the car. How the hell did I do this before? I can't remember now. That's it. I think I went through that way. Come on now. Oh, will you thread on, please? I don't know why that took so long that time. It just did not want to thread on. So that's the downpipe connected with the spacers and compression fittings. Obviously you'd want to screw in your sensor here after fitment, and then that runs down. And again, like I said, you want to make sure that it's just sitting right alongside the transmission. Up next is the TT twin extractor system, I think it's called, from AJ6 Engineering. I can't remember the name exactly. Before I started taking my car to bits, this is what I've been running. There's some more of it down here. I'll get to that in a sec. This is the system I was running for a few years. It uses the OEM manifolds, bolts on the same way as the OEM downpipes, uses the same spacer compression ring kind of setup in there. The first main difference is, of course, no catalyst converters. I am not going to wallow into the conversation about legality and all that kind of stuff. All I will say is the main difference is instead of just coming down in one pipe, obviously it comes down in two, all the way down to the back of the transmission, where it then goes into one. See here, look, there's just one. That one pipe then joins up with this sort of weird little midsection piece that I think they just made purely to house the sensors. So on the OEM exhaust that you just saw, it had sensors, I think it was about here on the first catalytic converter. They moved them all the way down here. I mean, you can see that's right down past the end of the transmission by this point. The downside of that is you have to extend your sensor wiring out. They do send a kit out. I actually didn't use it because it comes with crappy little spade connectors, or it did back when I got it. So I made my own electrical extensions. It doesn't seem to matter moving the sensors back here. I ran this system with 0 issues for a few years, but it is a bit strange because normally sensors need to be as far up by the engine as possible. Anyway, it is what it is. After those bits, I've left this one connected just so you can see. These then slot into what are called mid silencer delete pipes. I don't think these were from AJ6. I think I had these already from another company. You can, of course, as I have, mix and match parts from different manufacturers. The only thing you need to be aware of is that these later 6-litre V12s, OEM anyway, have a larger exhaust bore size over the 5.3. The manifolds are the same, but if you were to buy, say, some 5.3 downpipes, stainless steel, the outlet of those, sort of down here, is going to be smaller for the 5.3 design over the 6-litre. And obviously I kind of want to keep my later 6-litre larger bore size, so I've selected parts that all follow that larger 6-litre bore size. They then obviously just join up at the rear onto the overaxle pipes, and then you've got your overaxle pipes and your stainless steel silencers. Or that's, like I said, the system that I've been running, or was running, for a few years prior to destroying the car. The only thing I don't like about this setup over the OEM, well, there was a couple of things. One, I didn't really enjoy extending out the wiring, but that was just how it is. The other thing is that they never put the support for that sort of bracket thing here. So you really have to make sure that you get everything lined up perfectly and tightened up really tight. Otherwise, things can kind of just move. I would have liked it if they, when they manufactured these rear silencer pipes, if they just added the bracket mounts, because then that would have just matched the OEM stability. But anyway, it's worked perfectly well. It just takes a bit of fettling to get absolutely right. It's just worth noting as well, on the driver's side, this exhaust system still allows the use of this heat shield to protect the steering rack. When I discuss the new headers that I'm about to fit to this engine, that shield's not going to fit, so I will need to look into how important this shield is and whether I need to take some other action to kind of protect whatever that was protecting when we set up the new exhaust system. So that wraps up the TT AJ6 Engineering setup. I have now, though, in my possession some beautiful stainless steel downpipes, or headers I think they're called, from Paramount Performance. One of the reasons I've been doing this particular video on exhaust systems is, as I've been fitting each system, I've been taking some basic measurements because I wanted to check that these are actually going to fit in the Jaguar XJS engine bay. Obviously they should fit because that's what they were designed for and advertised as fitting, but I thought it'd probably be a good idea to check before I got to that moment where the engine was swinging about ready to fit into the engine bay, and then I realised that these just won't fit because the clearance for the exhaust is fairly tight on these cars. It's basically in between these two big girders here, and there's not a lot of wiggle room either way. So if they had been designed wrong or manufactured wrong, I would have been in trouble there. What I've got to do, however, is I've got to work out a way of joining up the AJ6 Engineering TT Extractor pipe system onto those headers. As it happens, just by complete fluke, I think, the bore size of these pipes fits perfectly up inside those pipes. Now, that means potentially what I could do is literally just cut these off at the correct place with a little bit of adjustability, cut some little slits in there, slide them up inside and just clamp them in the same way that AJ6 has actually with this pipe, for example. So that just slides up in there. There's slits in this piece here just to allow it to compress, and they just use a mickle or clamp to hold it all down. So that's one option. However, that would mean that the smaller bore size was going up inside the larger header downpipe, and I need to ask the question whether that's going to be an issue. Obviously, ideally, you want the exhaust gas to be coming out and not hitting, albeit a very, it'll be here, albeit a very small little ridge, which would be inside the tube, and I don't know if that'll matter. The better solution would be to have these cut in the correct position and flared out so that these bits slide up and over and then are clamped on. So I don't really know yet what the best option is. So finally, well, for this video anyway, because I can't go any further forward until I get some expert help on cutting my TT extractors, which is a bit of a scary thing because if I get it wrong, that'll be an expensive mistake. This is the setup I hope to be running when I put the engine back in the car. So these are the stainless steel downpipes, headers, whatever you want to call them, from Paramount, and they hopefully will be connected to the TT extractors, and then going back from that point will be everything you saw on the TT extractor setup. So hopefully that was interesting for some people and possibly useful, seeing all the different exhaust setups that I've personally had fitted to this engine, and hopefully what I will have fitted in the future. See you next video.